This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Hell of a weekend in sports. We had college football mayhem, a great NFL Sunday. October baseball rolls on. And a handful of firings, including one in the NFL, our first this NFL season, as we welcome you in to Money Moves on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you for the next 2 hours, live in downtown Las Vegas at Circa Resort and Casino. And we're going to kind of skip the pleasantries this morning like we might normally do, because we got the breaking news about 5 minutes ago that Brian Callahan, head coach of the Tennessee Titans, has been let go.
I mean, some would maybe consider it pleasant considering how poor he's been as a head coach for the Tennessee Titans.
I did immediately see a tweet from an account called Titans Therapy that said we're free.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's only one way to measure a team by results. Having said that, he was 3-20 against the spread as a head coach. As we always say, it is the cliche, the point spread is a great equalizer. You should be closer to at least 500 from an ATS standpoint. They have greatly fallen under expectations. Betting market could have been wrong. Having said that, it's clear that this was a very undercoached team that had some upside to it. You and I have sat here on Sundays and watched the live arm talent of Cam Ward, the ability that is really shown in his rookie year, but they have not been able to put anything together. We've watched him many times, Brian Callahan, trot his team out there and put them in negative situations from a game management and coaching standpoint time and time again. So I don't think this is crazy. I figured that at the end of the year this would happen. I don't think in the midst of a lost season it would seem that it's the craziest thing in the world to just get the process started now. Get him out of there. You don't want to dampen the development of your young rookie quarterback in Cam Ward if you think that's a worry. Let's start fresh.
Another situation where it's just unfortunate, though, where you have a rookie quarterback that's going to have now a third voice at play caller, right? Because they already changed that from Brian Callahan moving off of those duties. So another voice in his ear, potentially a head coaching change after just the midway point of the year. And this happens time and time again in the National Football League. But to your point, probably warranted. And you mentioned the 3-20 ATS number, but not many of those games were they favored. 4 wins straight up in his tenure to this point. They, when you look through some of the numbers, have the worst yards per game offensively, second worst points per game scored. They're bottom 10 on defense in just about everything as well. Nothing was going right for this team. So it is what it is. And then it probably is compounded with the way that Mike Vrabel and the New England Patriots have started off their season, no?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably not happy if you're deep in the front office watching what's happened in New England with the way that Vrabel's handling it. To me, the straw that breaks the camel's back, if you will, is yesterday against Las Vegas, it was just a apathetic, disgusting performance from an offensive standpoint against a Raiders team that across the board has been one of the worst teams in the National Football League to average just 3.8 yards per play, amass 225 total yards, go 3 of 13 on third downs. Still had an opportunity to cover the number 2, and then, until Cam Ward just drops the football on the final drive. But that, to me, is probably one of the breaking points if you're in the front office. You have looked ill-prepared in every single game, and now here's a team that is supposed to be within your stratosphere. This is a team that is supposed to be a contemporary in terms of power rating and ability, and you got smacked, and you had no real recourse in terms of being competitive in that game whatsoever.
And the only game that you actually have a win was one where you were down 21-3, and it took a calamitous downfall for the Arizona Cardinals for you to miraculously get that win as well. The Titans are, by the way, your favorite now for fewest regular season wins. Well, they were already, but now that number is shorter, 2-1. The Jets sitting there plus 320, the Saints plus 550, and the Browns 6-1. I know there is a team that you want to discuss a little bit later.
I mean, you can make the argument, right? If he is as bad as we think he is, then this is an upgrade, and thus the probability of the Titans having the fewest wins decreases, and that maybe there's some value on the board.
Look at you go. Diana Rossini, by the way, tweeting out a moment ago. In January of 2024, then Titans general manager Ran Carthon fired Mike Vrabel and hired Brian Callahan. Less than 2 years later, all three are no longer in Tennessee. It is pretty amazing how things change so quickly. And we do have another firing that we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the show. James Franklin in college football out at Penn State. We'll catch to that and plenty of college football as well, which is actually a great spot to set the table for everything else we have coming up on deck today. Time for the rundown.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
So a chaotic start to our show in the NFL, but a chaotic week in college football. We mentioned James Franklin fired. Indiana cements itself as a 2025 power with their win over Oregon. Meanwhile, Alabama and Ole Miss kind of squeak out wins to stay in good positioning in the SEC. With that, JVT, lots of movement on spreads and totals from Sunday's openers to now. There's even one unranked flip of favorites that we have seen to this point.
Yeah, looking forward to this weekend, absolutely, because there are some games where it might not be as sexy as some of the ones that we got this past weekend. Ones that carry a ton of weight for some of these groups that we're going to see. Interesting bounce backs, how teams like Oregon go on the road to bounce back after losing at home to Indiana. So really interested to see how the market reacts to what we saw over the weekend, which was pretty chaotic.
Yep, we will have Do You Approve This Move over there in the second hour. It is also an Overreaction Monday, so a Call Me Crazy But day. Although, looking at our list, I don't know if we're that crazy. I think it might be a little Proper Reaction Monday in some cases.
Yeah, I was trying to find some stuff to really overreact about, but I also just didn't really want to. There was nothing where it's like, all right, I'm not going out on that limb. Yeah. There's a couple, but like you said, I mean, we're going to talk and think about the Miami Dolphins. That's where I put it, and that seems very reasonable to me, what I'm thinking.
No question about it. And with it being Monday night, of course, we have Monday Night Football on deck, but we get a doubleheader, so 2 games to get to, which we will preview at length. The Bills laying 4.5 in Atlanta, taking on the Falcons. Bears at Commanders. Washington, a 5.5-point favorite there. Both totals sitting 49.5. And a couple great guests to help us break it down as well in 30 minutes. Josh Kendall, who covers Atlanta for The Athletic, will join the show. And in hour 2, Marshall Harris, Chicago sports TV and radio host, is going to stop by as well.
Yeah, this is a better Monday. Like, the Sunday was okay. I don't know what you felt, but the Sunday games, after we left the studio yesterday, I was kind of like, this kind of sucked. Like, outside of the Panthers game, which was kind of fun, especially because of the result, there was really nothing that stuck out to me, especially in the afternoon slates, that really was like, all right, that was a good day. So hopefully these two perform at a much better level.
Favorites 11-1 straight up, so we didn't have any Survivor real chaos or anything like that either, to your point. But I will say we had an interesting game on Sunday night with the Chiefs and Lions. It took Brian Branch post-game to get a little fight from the Lions. That is a joke. But in actuality, like, when you look at the scoreboard and the box score of this game, I don't know if it's necessarily telling the full story of what we saw from the way things went last night, although the Chiefs did win and cover any number 30-17, total stays under. Yeah,
I mean, I think you can maybe make the argument the Chiefs probably should. I mean, I think it seems right on par with what we were seeing for Kansas City. Maybe they should have pulled away by a little bit by my own measure. But either way, if you look, you get 6 red zone attempts. You should probably be a lot better in terms of the margin of victory than just 13 points. But I think, to me, for Kansas City, because I think the Lions are going to be good. And the way the NFC looks, I think the Lions are going to be perfectly fine, big picture. They're 4-2. All the powers that be in the NFC kind of look like they're very beatable. Even a team like Tampa Bay, who has all of its flaws just from a roster and health standpoint, they are starting to get healthy. That team is, I don't think, unbeatable by any stretch. So we're not worried about the Lions. For me, for Kansas City, I think it's time to start zooming out on Kansas City and asking the question, all right, what do we do with this team now? Because they're 3-3. The 3 losses all coming by, of course, a single possession. All of them they could have won. Getting the other side of that coin flip that was going so right for them a season ago. And in a division that looks very vulnerable and not particularly deep, and in an AFC that doesn't look particularly daunting either, is it time to start buying on the Chiefs?
I already have the Chiefs to win the division in pocket. I didn't bet it this week, but I could understand at a plus money price. Why not? Minus 125 is preseason. Yeah. So I
they're plus
don't
150
hate it,
to win the AFC West.
Especially considering I know the two of us are not believers in what the Broncos are at this point. The Chargers.
What are you talking about? You weren't impressed by the London performance on Sunday morning?
Good Lord. But I mean, less impressed by Justin Fields on the other side. Sure. So that drew my attention a little bit. But the Chargers, obviously, with the offensive line issues, and we see how impactful that is, that the Chargers are going down to the wire with the Miami Dolphins team that we don't think is any good, and certainly not thinking the Raiders are going to come from behind in this one. So it feels like it's another season where the Chiefs are going to chief. And with that, Patrick Mahomes now another instant contender in the MVP market as well, alongside Josh Allen.
I'll fight on that one. I don't know about that one. There's a guy out in Tampa Bay that's doing a pretty damn good job for MVP.
So this, from an odds perspective, and obviously you fired on the 12-1 last week, it has to be like a liability thing at this point, because from a numbers standpoint and a production standpoint, especially given the lack of talent around him in the wide receiver room, what Baker Mayfield has done, he should be the favorite now, correct?
Oh, I mean, I think so. Resume-wise, I don't think there's a question that Baker Mayfield should be the favorite to win MVP. I think you're right, though, in that you're not going to float guys like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes out too far because you're just going to get a bunch of tickets on them. So I think that's mainly the reason why we're here. Again, going to true odds, as some like to say, it's definitely a situation where you're looking at Mahomes and saying, we're going to load these tickets up. We just got to keep him short, especially if they start winning games.
Yeah. The Bucs, though, and we might as well go to that performance against the San Francisco 49ers. R.I.P. Fred Warner. If you missed that, broken ankle, dislocated ankle, he's done for the season. Yeah, sorry, I didn't send you the video. I just said, woof, Fred Warner. But with him and Nick Bosa,
I was like, what was wrong?
Now injured for San Francisco's defense, it's like they cannot catch a break injury-wise the last 2 years to this point. But the Bucs certainly performed. Mayfield, no Mike Evans, no Godwin. Emeka Egbuka goes down in the game, and he still is 17-23 for 256, 2 touchdowns, and no picks, getting the ball to Cameron Johnson, Sterling Shepard. And how about the touchdown pass to Tez Johnson, where he thought the MVP chance for him?
Yeah, actually, I think, do we have this? Because Tez talked about this after the game in terms of the celebration of the crowd.
I'll tell you a funny story. This is crazy. When I score and I hit MVP chant, I'm thinking they talking about me. And so I asked Shep. I'm like, Shep, they was chanting MVP? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I ain't do nothing this year. And then he was like, they talking about Baker, Tez. And I was like, well, that explains it. But he is the MVP. The one he got the first down on, he said he blacked out. But, I mean, that's just Baker. The pump fake get everybody. I'm just like, oh, my God, he's a dog. Like, I don't know what he put in his cereal before the game. Like, but that guy on it every single week.
I'm glad Tez brought up that play because it was sweet from Baker.
Well, yeah, as it was pointed out, so Mahomes had a nice little physical run as well, and Collinsworth on the broadcast says, you never see a quarterback do this. And as everybody pointed out, 2 hours earlier, you saw Baker Mayfield do it. He has the resume. He should be the favorite to win MVP. We're also only 5 games in, but there's no question he right now is the leader of the clubhouse for it.
First quarterback with more than 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, and 1 pick or fewer through 6 games since Mahomes' historic season in 2020. We're just getting started here on Money Moves. More coming up after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Back here on Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158, alongside Jonathan Von Tobel. Stormy Buonantony with you live in downtown Las Vegas at Circa Resort and Casino. If you missed it off the top of the show, we did have our first head coach firing in the National Football League. Brian Callahan out as head coach of the Tennessee Titans after a 4-19 record and following up what was an ugly loss to the Raiders on Sunday. Meanwhile, in college football, we had our 5th, 6th, and 7th head coaches fired. None larger than big game James Franklin at Penn State.
And pile on, huh?
I don't know if we have seen. You gotta, and we'll get to those numbers in a moment. But I don't know if we have seen a bigger twist of fate or downfall in such a short period of time than the 15-day span where Penn State is ranked number 2 in the country, hosting Oregon, and look like they're going to take a lead in overtime, to the Ducks, to then dropping 3 straight games, including back-to-back losses as a 20-plus point favorite to UCLA and Northwestern.
I think producer Justin enjoyed putting this timeline together here. As you see it for Penn State, was very happy about the news that came down on Sunday. I mean, here's the thing. You understand it, and you kind of don't. I think you understand it from the perspective of if you've got the money to go ahead and pay him out and get him out of there while also having the backing to go and get somebody that you believe is going to be the equivalent or better in terms of a big fish, then, I mean, look, it's their program. They go do what they want. As I was texting with our producer earlier today, just always say, grass is never always greener on the other side. You never know what you're going to get rid of and what you're going to step into. The candidates that are out there, I know Curt Cignetti was the first one. In today's day and age with NIL and whatnot, I'm sure Indiana can find the ability to keep Cignetti. We'll see if he actually wants to do that in terms of moving to Penn State. It seems like the name to really watch, and I don't know if you saw Matt Rule's comments earlier today.
I did not.
The very big non-denial of, I'm focused on getting this done here this year. Yeah. We got a good group of guys. Never once did he say, I don't want the Penn State job. So I mean, look, he's got ties to it. It makes a ton of sense. Hey, we are in our we're in our rule of 3 right now. They're 5-1, Nebraska. The rule of 3, of course, being that he wins 10 games or more in the third year at collegiate stops, not in Carolina.
See, yeah, he says that specifically because he knows my feelings about what transpired with the Panthers.
I mean, but I think it does speak to the ability to build a program, and who knows what Matt Rule can do with the financial backing that is out there in Penn State. So maybe that's ultimately going to be a pretty good hire, but I am going to be curious to see who steps up, because after Matt Rule, if you go by the odds across the pond for the next head coach, I think there's kind of a severe drop-off in some of the names if you fire James Franklin for some of these guys.
I was pretty surprised to see Bill O'Brien as the second shot on the board. But, yes, Matt Rule 2-1, Bill O'Brien plus 300, Kurt Cignetti there at 6-1, Manny Diaz 7-1. Urban Meyer 9-1. Okay. And the list goes on. Joe Brady at 12-1 was one that intrigued me a little bit, but would you want to leave a situation where you're on a good team in the NFL to go to a college football program? I'm not so sure. Your grass is greener comment is well taken, though, because think about where Penn State was the back end of last year. This is 7 games after they were on a drive that could have put them in a national championship. And they've had a program record 13-win season last year, 10-plus wins 6 times since 2016. But obviously, it's historic what's happened the last couple of weeks to Penn State. And when you do have the big game James moniker that is well known in the numbers, 4-21 against AP top 10s, 1-18 against top 10 opponents in the Big Ten. They're 124 in all other games during James Franklin's time in Happy Valley. And that is something that if you are a booster, a donor, one of these people that is willing to put your money up to make a change, that's what they're doing. And it is an expensive buyout, which this is a whole other conversation. So the buyout's near $50 million for James Franklin. And I heard Heather Dinich of ESPN earlier this morning say money is no object. They have no problem paying this out and paying whatever they need to pay to get another coach out of his deal potentially, right? But how are we doing this in college football? That we are still signing coaches to 10-year, however much. Why? When, you're just rewarding guys for getting fired and being bad if the time comes.
Sure. I mean, but they've also, I would assume if they have a contract like that, at some point they've earned it. I mean, we should state that despite the big game James moniker, he, in the last, what is it, 10 years, won 6 double-digit seasons, all that sort of stuff. So, he's, I heard you. I'm just reiterating for audience.
I get it.
So he's kind of earned it to an extent. I mean, I don't know. There's a crap ton of money in college football, man. That's how this works.
I know, but when you
got a bunch of fat cats with the money to spend that want to watch their football program win games, so they're going to put money down.
They just never win the games that they need to get somewhere to contend for a national title.
Only one championship.
The bulk of those losses that we're talking about against AP top 5, top 10s are to Michigan, Ohio State, and Oregon.
Yes, that's what I think. You're kind of coming into my camp, which is I feel like we're being kind of hard on the guy, but then sure enough, this was cataclysmic.
You got to win more than 2 of them, though. I think that's the thing.
To me, yes, you got to win more. I think maybe not the bigger slight on his resume, but I think one of the blemishes that it isn't discussed enough is the fact that at no point in his tenure was there a time, and this was going to be the time where it was supposed to happen, that you developed a quarterback that looked like he was going to be one of the best in the country.
And Drew Aller had all the potential in the world.
Yeah.
It seemed like, at least, coming into his collegiate career. And now he's done, too. Yeah. That's another note, add on to this for Penn State the back half of the year, is that Drew Aller had a leg injury that cost him the rest of the season, and now his collegiate career is done.
So I will say, going back to it, the ramifications of it, it's not the worst thing. If I told you right now that next year at the start of the season, Matt Rule was the head coach of Penn State and he brings Dylan Raiola with him, it's not the worst thing in the world.
No, it's not.
You're not a big Dylan Raiola gal.
Situation is everything, though.
Right? Come on now. He's been great this year.
Trust me, I know.
It's a good bounce back. The question just becomes, is Matt Rule really the guy that's going to push through? By the way, we should note about Matt Rule, I hope you didn't say this one, who has lost 17 straight to ranked opponents in his time as a head coach. So that's something we're talking about. If we're going with the whole, hey, this guy sucked against the best of the best. Okay, here's a guy that hasn't done well against the top 25, let alone the top 5. So that's just something worth pointing out for Rule. But let me ask you this question. The other thing that then comes from this is, if you're a program that is on the verge of being I don't know about my guy. Oh, James Franklin's
available. Yeah.
Sunbelt Billy, see you, buddy.
Which there is a report from Newsweek, by the way, that Florida is coming closer to a decision on letting him go.
North Carolina?
Yes.
Clean it out. Just say, you know what, we're done. We got a guy like you who can
Start
actually
fresh.
build college programs. You go down the list of some of these teams, and all of a sudden.
That's the market we really want is where's James Franklin's next job?
Or where's any of these coaches going to be? Because it seems like there might be a lot of moving pieces with some really big names. Lane Kiffin, if any of these SEC jobs open, would probably be down to move, maybe even to Florida if that's going to be the case.
I don't know. Did you watch?
I
I watched Lane Kiffin's documentary the other day, and I think he's going to stay at Ole Miss.
I'm sure it's 100%. It's 100% pure. And
He's
not edited at all.
He's changed. By the way, this week coming up for Penn State, they are visiting the Iowa Hawkeyes, and we'll talk more of these market moves from Sunday to now. But Iowa opened a 1.5-point favorite, and they are up to 3.5 right now. Let's shift gears to a little baseball these last couple minutes because obviously we do have the championship series that roll on, and the Mariners took a 1-0 lead on the Toronto Blue Jays yesterday, 3-1. How you feeling? I was excited for you.
That was a great win. That was a great
Huge win. Toronto.
It was such a bad situation for them. And then it starts too. I mean, you get on, you top of the first inning, you get a couple of guys on, but you can't really do anything with it. George Springer comes up, swats a solo homer, and you're immediately like, okay, here we go. Like this is it. Like they're probably going to run him out. It's Bryce Miller. Nope. Everybody locks in. Miller is great going forward in that game. They do enough from an offensive standpoint. The fact that not only they get the win, Miller lasts as long as he does. I don't think you can understate how great that win was. For the Mariners to win this series. I know generally, hey, win a road team winning it, whatever. But to win after that game on Friday night is absolutely insane. And I can't wait to watch it at a reasonable time later this evening at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. That's when they start, right?
Yep.
2:03 p.m. first pitch today, Stormy, for us.
I'm about it.
2 o'clock. What are we doing?
I like it.
No way. No, for a baseball game, yes. For a championship series to start at 2 o'clock?
That's fair. But for me, timing-wise, I'm like, we're off the air at 1. I get home.
Sure. But I'm going to go on a limb and say most Seattle fans might not be able to watch their freaking team today.
All right, that's fair. But I apologies, Seattle fans. I wasn't thinking of you in that moment. I was selfish, and I was thinking of myself. That said, Logan Gilbert on the hill for them today.
You got a good shot here, man.
Even money dogs in this spot. And again, just to further what you're saying about how important that win was, after what we've seen from Toronto so far in the postseason, they have been so hot offensively. To hold them in check like that is huge. So what do you make it today?
This. I was pondering this thought of what we've seen from Toronto. Was it just beating up on a Yankees team that might not have been that good?
I don't want to go there.
I
don't want to. We already do a segment here called West Coast Bias. I want to upset our New York.
Just want to throw that out there.
More.
I mean, it's really about Yesavage and whether Yesavage. Sorry. Either way, the young kid for Toronto pitching today. We have a very small sample size of whether or not this kid is legitimate. The swing and miss stuff looks good, but if this Mariners team, which offensively it's not been dominant, but they've done enough. We saw Eugenio Suarez wake up a little bit yesterday. If this lineup can get to the young kid rattling pretty quickly, might be in a good spot to take 2-0 and go back to Seattle.
Run total in this one, by the way, 7.5 as well. Minus 103 to the over if you do think we get some runs in general here. And it's no secret, one of the best times of year to be a sports fan and to be a sports bettor. We've got October baseball, the NFL, college football in full swing. The NBA tips off next week. We've got hockey all over our screens today. And with that, we've got a fall offer for you here at VSiN. VSiN.com/subscribe. You can start betting smarter for just $9.99 your first month or save 50% off with an annual plan when you check out our new fall offer. Again, VSiN.com/subscribe. Get everything you need in one spot at VSiN.com. We'll be right back taking our first look at Monday Night Football next.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Stormy Buonantony and Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here on Money Moves. We've got a Monday Night Football doubleheader on deck tonight, starting in Atlanta as the Falcons host the Buffalo Bills, and they're getting a little bit of play here this morning. While it is still a 4.5 number out there at DraftKings, we're seeing largely 3.5s across the market right now with them as a home dog. Total 49.5, and I'm excited to get into a little more deep conversation with Josh Kendall, who joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line, Falcons beat reporter over there at The Athletic. Because, Josh, I don't know necessarily what to make of this Falcons team after the last 2 times we saw them. They get shut out in what even they called an embarrassing loss to the Carolina Panthers and then put up a season-high 34 points against Washington the next week. What's your view of Atlanta at this point in the season?
Unfortunately, the same as yours. I can't shed any light on it either. They are as roller coaster a team as there is in the league at the moment. They have they put some distance between themselves and that 30-point loss at Carolina. But frankly, that game was so bad that I think it's going to take a while to erase that stain. So I'm not willing to say, okay, everything's fixed after you beat the Marcus Mariota Washington Commanders. Obviously, tonight is a much different challenge, and they could play pretty well and lose tonight. But if they don't play well, they'll get blown out again, and then there will be a lot of questions, even more questions around Atlanta. I do think they've got the ability, though, to play well and make this a competitive game. But it's a roll of the dice as to which one of these offenses is going to show up for Atlanta.
Yeah, so what do you, like, if there is a thing you point to, what would you point to? Because this offense, I don't think a lot of people, if you ask the man on the street, where do you think they rank, they wouldn't say mid-20s, and that's what a lot of their metrics would point to.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Atlanta's running the ball well early, if the offensive line is getting some push, I mean, we've seen this offensive line look dominant against Minnesota, against a Brian Flores Vikings team that gives a lot of teams fits. And then we saw them look, fairly disinterested in Carolina. So I think it's that group up front. If they come out with their hair on fire and you see some push up front from the Falcons early and they're able to hit a few runs and move the sticks and get their feet under them, I think that gives Michael Penix the opportunity to hit some big plays but not have to carry them with his arm, because his accuracy has not been consistent enough to carry this offense so far. So for me, watch the offensive line early. See what they're doing. If they're able to sort of set the script at all. If they aren't, that's a big problem for Atlanta. If they are, we might have a game in the fourth quarter.
And Bijan Robinson, obviously a huge piece in that run game. He's had 72-plus yards on the ground in 3 straight games. But looking at his usage this year, tied with Christian McCaffrey for the longest active streak of games with at least 100 yards from scrimmage. He's been utilized a ton as a security blanket type piece in the pass game from Michael Penix Jr. as well. What do we expect from him tonight, you think?
More high usage, Abe. Pete Morris said this week, we do our load management with him during the week, during practice. Their plan for Bijan is to have him ready on Sundays and or Mondays to play as many snaps as he can. So while we have seen, he's coming off of a 300-touch season, and we've seen that be kind of a problem. Backing that up has been a problem for a lot of guys in the past, but the Falcons, feel like they have kind of a unicorn with Bijan, and that they can keep putting this kind of workload on him, and he'll be just fine. And so far, certainly he has. So I don't expect them to try to regulate or put a governor on Bijan's carries or activity in the passing game.
All right, if we look at this from the other pass catchers for Atlanta, how do you think that they'll attack Buffalo defensively with some of the other names that they have?
Well, Darnell Mooney won't play. That's problematic because they're really unproven outside of Drake London, who will be a problem. They'll line him up in the slot a lot, I would expect, tonight. He's just a tough cover because he's a big, strong, aggressive, physical guy who can win contested catches. But he's not necessarily a guy who's just going to kill you for a 70-yard touchdown. That was the role that Darnell Mooney played, the threat that Darnell Mooney gave this offense. In Darnell Mooney's place, they got a second-year player, 6th-round draft pick from 2024, named Casey Washington, who they like, but just hasn't done it. I mean, he had 1 catch as a rookie. So this will be his second career start. We'll just have to see. Ray McCloud, as the third wide receiver, was a positive surprise last year. He hasn't gotten that momentum, but, Ray McCloud at his best is a guy who will convert 2 third downs for you in a game. When Falcons are having success, those are the types of games you see Ray McCloud having. So I don't think that Buffalo is worried about Atlanta's wide receiving.
What about Kyle Pitts in the tight end room? He's coming off his best game, 5 catches on 5 targets, 70 yards, and a touchdown against Washington. He's had 4 more receptions every game this season. Do we expect him to maybe present a little bit of a problem for this Bills defense as well?
I was an off-season skeptic with Kyle Pitts, despite, how optimistic the coaching staff was and Michael Penix was about the year he was going to have, because I've kind of heard that from coaching staff the last 2 off-seasons, and it hasn't come to fruition. This year it really has. Now, I don't say, I don't think Kyle Pitts is ever going to be, inspirational light and necessarily. really good complementary piece to this offense. And if he can do that, then that's all Atlanta needs from him.
All right, let's flip this around, Josh. So defensively for Atlanta, if you look at them, one of the things that sticks out like a sore thumb, some of the metrics against the run. What do you make of what Atlanta has in store for them when they take on this Bills rushing offense?
Yeah, that's going to be the key, obviously. This defense has been better overall than I expected, but still, I think last in the league in offense and defensive rush success rate. So teams that can run can move the chains on this team, and the Bills can run. The Falcons are very cognizant of the fact that if Buffalo gets James Cook rolling, they'll be fairly helpless.
Dang. Having some technical difficulties, unfortunately, with Josh, but certainly appreciate his insight. And, yeah, when James Cook gets rolling, that rushing attack can be pretty dangerous for Buffalo. And obviously they've got a mobile quarterback in Josh Allen as well that presents a whole new set of problems. Yeah,
and as you mentioned there, if people didn't hear it, they're in the bottom like 3 or 4 in terms of success rate against the run so far this year, Atlanta. And by EPA rush standards, they're floating around like 25th in the National Football League. So all this to be said is they've really struggled in terms of controlling these opposing ground games. So if that's going to be the case, and very quietly, you mentioned we'll call it a two-headed monster with the ability for Josh Allen and James Cook. From that standpoint, I do wonder if, first off, if you're going to be able to stop them. And second, this offense, which has been pretty disjointed throughout the entire year, if you're not getting the ball consistently, how does this offensive output look like for Atlanta because of their defense's inability to get the Buffalo Bills off the field?
Do you think that the total is probably pretty appropriate here at 49.5, given what we've seen from both? I don't want to say both defenses, but that's kind of what it feels like. Obviously, Buffalo's had their issues defensively, and it seemed like Atlanta's offense kind of woke up a bit. And Atlanta, defensively, no matter how good or bad they are, Buffalo's going to be able to score. Yeah,
I think for me, I'd lean a little under the total. I know we haven't really moved too much with 49.5. Some spots are ping-ponging back and forth to 50, only because I lean toward the Bills side here. So if the Bills are going to win this game, if they're going to cover this game, I would assume that means you're running the ball, you're controlling the time of possession. Maybe you are generating some explosives on the ground and scoring at a high rate, but I don't think maybe that would be the case. So trending toward this game potentially going under just because Atlanta might be up against it from a time of possession standpoint. And, the other interesting aspect, there's been some really interesting pieces out there and some analysis, like Dan Orlovsky, I think, has talked about this on ESPN. The benefit of lining up under center and what that does for ground games. I think we talked about with our buddy who's covered the Bengals that Joe Burrow doesn't really like to do. He likes to see it, but that lining up under center sometimes helps when it comes to play action, things of that nature. Michael Penix does not line up under center. In fact, if you look at it, he's got a rate of just about 6% of being under center. That's 15 of his 289-ish snaps so far this year, according to Sumer Sports. That's a really low rate.
Yeah.
So they're not really doing a lot of misdirection stuff. Like, that's really, I think, a way that if you listen to smarter people, that's how you attack this Bills defense. And it sounds like that's not what they're going to do. It's not what they have done. So I wonder if that works against them as well in a game like this.
Did you make a play in this game? I know we're going to talk props a little bit later on just to kind of talk through game script stuff, but anything you really liked?
I pulled the Stormy Buonantony for this one. I've got a couple I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
I'd like to talk through to see what you think.
I have a couple, too. That's selfishly why I was asking about Bijan Robinson was I was looking at a couple of his numbers, like the rush and receiving combined number. The rush attempts number was something that intrigued me. It's 15.5, but you're getting even money plus 102 on the over for that one if you expect him to be utilized a good bit today. So we'll talk through that in depth more a little bit later, but a couple things that I was thinking of. I mean, if he's getting Christian McCaffrey-like usage, we should be betting overs, right?
One would assume. Well, I mean, I think that would make some sense at the very least.
I don't know. After the way that my prop betting went on Sunday, I'm not so sure I should keep going down this road.
Good day or bad day?
No, my props were, I'm 1 for 3 of the props.
Okay.
My other bets were better. Also,
can't be perfect the whole time.
Can I tell you this?
You've been riding hot.
Can I tell you this about college football? I'm 9-3 for my college football picks the last 3 weeks. Still down 0.2 units because of how bad my first 3 weeks of the season were. We're clawing our way back,
that pesky
baby.
Juice as well.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Call me crazy, but coming up after this.
Are you interested in effortlessly growing your Bitcoin portfolio? I sure am. The Bitcoin credit card by Gemini earns you Bitcoin back on every purchase. Use it like any credit card. Buy lunch, gas, or your weekly groceries, and you'll earn up to 4% back instantly in Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos straight to your account. All that with no annual fee. And right now, you can grab a $200 Bitcoin welcome bonus. It's the easiest way to start building your Bitcoin stack. Go to Gemini.com/card to learn more. Terms apply. See the link in the description for more information regarding rates and fees.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Put on your tinfoil hats.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. The whole world gone crazy.
For Call Me Crazy, but...
All right, let's get into it on this overreaction, or potentially, based on some of these options, a reasonable type of a reaction Monday. Stormy, Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Call me crazy, but JVT, Dak Prescott is Joe Burrow from last year. And am I?
No, continue.
We talked so much last year about how Joe Burrow was playing at an MVP caliber level, but was on a team that couldn't make the playoffs. The defense was brutal. And through 6 games, Dak Prescott is second in the league in passing yards, second in QBR, tied for third in passing touchdowns, just 3 picks, third best completion percentage in the league at 71.6, despite throwing 40 more passes than any of the other 3 quarterbacks that are at or ahead of him. He's putting up MVP caliber levels, leading one of the highest scoring offenses in the league. Yet they're a sub 500 team that feels like they're going nowhere fast. They're minus 800 to miss the playoffs this year. It's an uphill battle for the Dallas Cowboys the rest of the way if this defense keeps performing like this.
I mean, I would agree with you. Cowboys are who we thought they were. And now I will say, to your point, he is playing at an insanely high level, MVPs level. He won't win it because of the way his team is performing. If he does not win Comeback Player of the Year, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear, call me crazy. I don't want to hear Darren Waller anymore. I don't want to hear Daniel Jones. I don't want to hear anybody else, okay? There's one man who is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League coming off of an injury. It's Dak Prescott.
He is 35-1 to win MVP, but he's your favorite for Comeback Player of the Year at 2-1.
I was about to get very angry.
If you thought that was
I thought you were going to say, how did he drop? There's no way.
No.
Okay, all right.
2-1 to win Comeback Player of the Year. But I bring up the MVP number because I was curious, like, does it surprise you that Dak is so much shorter, one of many players that are so much shorter than Sam Darnold, who's still at a 50-1 shot despite the numbers that he's put up this season as well?
I mean, I'm not surprised in the context of I don't think the betting market and by extension people would respect Sam Darnold enough to think that is the case. But if you're actually setting odds, again, the odds of a team that could win its division to be a top seed in the NFC, I take that quarterback would have better odds than the dude who's right now on a team that's 2-3-1 and can't win a game to save its life because his defense is so bad.
Well, and I just gave you all those numbers for Dak. Sam Darnold, third in pass yards, best yards per completion average, more than 70% completions himself, fifth in passing touchdowns. His ball placement has been awesome. So, and on a team that's winning games.
And EPA and CPOE composite number 1 in the National Football League as well, another metric. So the guy's been absolutely tremendous. All right, call me crazy, but the Miami Dolphins are the worst team in the NFL, and I'm not talking about like, they could be in the running. No, they are the worst team in the NFL.
No,
it is now starting to fall apart at the seams. Who's worse than them?
Call me crazy, but the Tennessee Titans, who just fired their head coach,
they just improved today. This team is an absolute nightmare. And here's the thing you don't see, because Cam Ward at least had the wherewithal to come out and say, you know what, we're ass. Right? We're terrible. We're awful. He knows. Tua talking about his press conferences on a weekly basis are an adventure in just throwing guys under the bus. Listen to what he had to say this last week about his teammates and team meetings and everything in between.
I think it starts with the leadership in helping articulate that for the guys, and then what we're expecting out of the guys, right? We're expecting this. Are we getting that? Are we not getting that? We have guys showing up to player-only meetings late, guys not showing up to player-only meetings. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. Do we have to make this mandatory? Do we not have to make this mandatory? So it's a lot of things of that nature that we got to get cleaned up, and it starts with the little things like that.
To be clear, you're saying some players were late or missed?
Late, yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
It starts with leadership. I would assume the quarterback of a multi-billion-dollar franchise would be a leader.
Well, and so here's the thing is he's not only throwing his teammates under the bus, he's throwing his head coach under the bus too.
Of course.
Like just everybody at once. So yes, I think I, like many people, was very shocked to see that on the podium.
I don't know. You know, I think this show has a lot of improvements to make, and I think it starts with hosting. So. Right? No, it's the same concept. It's like, buddy, you're in control of all of these things. Also pointed out by those, I think it was Big Cat at Barstool, coaches that wear capris are now 1-11 this season. It seems to be an absolute nightmare for this team. And that's why I say they're the worst team in the NFL, because they're, at least for the Titans, you have some sort of leadership at the top from a rookie quarterback. The Dolphins have nothing.
Okay, call me crazy, but is it finally a buy point on the Ravens? They are plus 180 in the AFC North right now. Yes, a 1-5 start to the year. They got embarrassed by the Texans, showed some fight against the Rams yesterday, but looking ahead on their schedule, Week 7 bye to get more pieces back healthy. The hope and expectation is Lamar Jackson will be back when they host Chicago in 2 weeks. And a slew of winnable games coming up. They host the Bears, at the Dolphins, who you just said is the worst team in the NFL, at Minnesota, at Cleveland, Jets at home, Bengals at home before the first of 2 games with the Steelers, who are the favorites in the division. And the Steelers have a gauntlet of a schedule moving forward.
What's the price on Baltimore?
Plus 180.
This is what we were waiting for.
This is the time.
This is what we were waiting for. Now, the hope was obviously that the Steelers were going to lose to the Browns yesterday, which they did not come close to doing. But, yes, I would say that this is probably the time to do it. You mentioned the schedule, how opportunistic it is, the fact that you're getting the bye to get ready for this. I mean, they could rip off the next 5-6 wins going into their first meeting with Pittsburgh on the 14th if Lamar Jackson's healthy and ready to go. This is why there were so many people who were saying, how are they still minus 105 to win this? Look at the schedule. Yeah. Look at what they have in front of them if he's going to come back healthy. The time is now.
Meanwhile, the Steelers, yes, 4-1, and they just beat the Browns. But with the exception of Cincinnati twice in Miami, they have Green Bay, Indy, the Chargers, the Bears. That's in L.A., in Chicago, Buffalo, the Ravens twice, at Detroit, and at Cleveland again.
Yep.
So.
Now, I'd say this. You'd hold out just because you want to wait until it's official. Crazier things have happened in terms of Lamar's health. Like, you want to make sure he is healthy.
Well, you get the full bye to make the decision.
So by the time we get the news that Lamar is, like, the second that comes out, I think that's the time to come in and let's go Baltimore. And not even just the division. I mean, you're talking about Super Bowl, things like that. This still is a team that has some of the pieces that we thought were going to be relatively good. And this might be the time to get in on the buy low train for the Baltimore Ravens.
Super Bowl odds for the Ravens right now, 22-1.
Mm-hmm. For a team that many, I am among them, thought was the best team in the National Football League.
Yep.
All right, call me crazy. Again, not trying to curry favor. I am objective. The Panthers are going to put together a winning season here this year. Dude, their offense is legitimately good, especially when it comes to the ground game. I get it. You could say it was Miami and Dallas, but how efficient they looked in both of those games, averaging over 7 yards per play in totality between the two of them. Rigo Dowdle putting together 2 games in which he had over 200 yards from scrimmage. This is a well-schemed offense. They play better at home, as you have pointed out here. They have an interesting test on the road against the New York Jets, where I think they'll go off as favorites. Not the craziest thing in the world to say. They're only 1-point dogs right now. So tease them up while you got the opportunity. But Jets are not a daunting opponent by any means. And again, I think they're going to go off favored there. You look at the rest of the way.
They are a favorite at DraftKings
there
right
you
now,
go.
1.5.
So I was on with our friend Kendall Valenzuela, who's going to be with us later this week, and that's what I was talking to her about, which was I think they're going to go off as a favorite, so tease them up. But this schedule, as you look forward, you got a couple of games against the Bills and the Packers mixed in there. By the way, at the Bills, Patriots just beat them, and we know that defense has some issues, and Milano's injured again, so who knows what that looks like. You get them at home, too, where you played way better. We saw the Saints push the Bills in Buffalo 2 weeks ago. So don't think it's the craziest thing in the world.
I can tell you already I'll be targeting a Panthers team total over in that game.
Sure. But, I mean, Saints, Falcons, 49ers. Hell, I mean, I would even say the Packers, who were in a one-score game with the freaking Bengals over the weekend, who just got a quarterback. It's not the most daunting thing in the world to look at this and go, 9 wins could be attainable for the Carolina Panthers. Win total is 6.5 right now. I would say that at the very least, that's worth looking at it, over minus 125.
I've been hurt too many times before, and I've already got a Panther season win total, so I think I'm just going to ride that
What'd you
out.
get?
But wasn't it 7.5?
Okay.
Yeah, 7.5.
All right. So it's right in line with where you're at. You're getting a discount on the win total.
How about this one? The Texas Tech train, call me crazy, is not slowing down regardless of quarterback health with what they have had around him. And if you haven't seen it, Baron Morton has been injured in 3 games this season, including getting knocked out of the game at Kansas with an ankle issue. The good news is the x-rays were negative. Morton's just day-to-day. The even better news is that even when Morton hasn't been available, the redshirt freshman backup Will Hammond has been great. I know the passing numbers weren't awesome against Kansas, but still ran in 2 scores. In spot duty, 8 total touchdowns, 2 picks, 66% completions, averaging 9.6 yards per carry when he takes off and runs as well. They have won every game to this point by 24 or more points. Were dominant in their biggest game of the season against Utah. Defense is as good as anybody in the country. They're the top team in the Big 12, odds on for a reason. But I don't think anything is going to slow down this team.
I think there's one thing that'll slow him down, so I think I'll call you crazy here.
Is it Devin Dampier?
His name is Devin Dampier.
When he's
fully healthy and ready to go.
The ankle being healed, he's a different dude.
That's right. You saw it up close. You breathed his air.
I can't tell you how hard it was watching that game and just
did not cheer for him.
Consistently asking yourself, what the hell happened against Texas Tech?
I was asking that earlier, actually this weekend, because I ran into somebody and they were like, I haven't signed up and gotten the NBA betting guide. I go, what the hell happened? I'm like, you need to get this done now. It's a ridiculous deal. Tell you what, buddy, you can go and sign up, and for the first 30 days, you can get it for $9.99. So check it out now. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Don't be like this, dude. Don't miss out on the previews and the power ratings for all 30 teams, the best bets, the props, and plus, there's a guy named JVT that's got an article or 2 in there as well. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe and check it out today.
Nobody's smoother than you, big guy. We got plenty more money moves coming up after this. Maybe no NBA talk, but you did say props. Monday Night Football doubleheader, handful of prop options to get into. We will kick off hour 2 with that and more next on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Did you know your credit card points and miles can lose value to inflation? Credit card companies often reduce the redemption value of your points and miles. Now, imagine a credit card with rewards that can grow in value. With the Gemini credit card, you can earn Bitcoin or one of over 50 other cryptos instantly with no annual fee. Every swipe at the store or gas pump earns you instant rewards deposited straight to your account. Plus, sign up now for a $200 Bitcoin bonus to kickstart your rewards. Visit Gemini.com/card today. Check out the link in the description for more information on rates and fees. Again, if you're looking to invest in Bitcoin but don't know where to start, the Gemini credit card makes it easy.